Hi everyone, it's Kim Adams and I'm here for Money Talk Monday. And today what I thought I would do was cover some investing basics. And there are lots of different types of investments, and this is just meant to be a kind of a general overview if you're not familiar with investing or are confused on the whole concept. So first of all, I want to talk about the different types of investments, the broad types of investments that there are out there. So first of all, if you have extra cash and you want to invest, and you shouldn't do it with just your extra cash, it should be part of a plan that you have to invest. So obviously you can just put it in a bank, right? You can invest it, you can put it into a savings account. Interest rates these days for past several years have not been very high. So it's not a super lucrative investment right now, putting it in the bank. The interest rate's kind of ridiculous, but that's one option. And when interest rates are higher, it's a better option. Similar to just putting it into a savings account, you can put it into a CD within a bank where you get a slightly better interest rate, but you have to tie up the funds for a little bit longer. So basically that's cash investing. And you can invest in a bank, you can put money into a bank in a savings account, or you can also invest it in a money market account within a financial institution like a Vanguard or Fidelity. The large investment houses typically have money market accounts. They function and operate like a mutual fund, but the shares don't vary. The share price doesn't vary. So in essence, it really does kind of function as a savings account, so to speak. The one I had for years was Vanguard Prime Money Market. And so it's actually a mutual fund, but it functions as a savings account. The another type of investment are stocks, right? Stocks, and being in the stock market is will generally return a longer return or a higher return over a longer period of time. So if you say and started investing today and 30 years from now, compare that to someone that had just put money into a bank or had just invested into an interest deposit account, generally the stock market does better. Now it does have its ups and downs, so you have to kind of be in it for the long haul because timing the market is really has been very iffy over the years. So I usually take the Warren Buffett approach where you just put it in there and leave it sit there. That's been my investment philosophy anyway, because trying to time the market, and I've been trying to explain this to my son who just wants to play the market, so when the stock market goes down, he wants to invest, which is great, right? He understands the concept of buying more shares at a lower price, but the chances of you timing the market is really hard to do. It's really slim to nil. So the better approach is dollar cost averaging, where you invest a regular amount on a regular basis, and I've covered that before, the power of dollar cost averaging. So stocks is another thing, and so you can buy individual stocks, right? You can just go buy shares of IBM or Apple or Google or whatever you want to buy, or you can invest in mutual funds, where the mutual fund actually goes out and buys the actual stock, and then you're just buying shares in the mutual fund. So you're in essence invested in the stock market, but not directly into the fund, into the stocks. The mutual fund is doing that on your behalf. So in that instance, you're actually buying shares in a particular fund. So let's say you go to Fidelity and you buy shares in their 500 index trust. So a 500 index trust mutual fund is actually investing in stocks. The Fortune 500, the index fund is buying shares in the stock of Fortune 500 companies. So it's a way of diversifying among many companies and keeping it pretty simple. So that's another way to invest, is through mutual funds. And there are a myriad of different types of funds within mutual funds. There are stock funds that are conservative, where they're investing in blue chip stocks. You can invest also in more volatile type stocks like small capitalization or small company stocks that typically are more volatile. So there's a lot of different variations within mutual funds that you can invest in. Another type of investment are bonds. Bonds really are fundraising things that a lot of municipalities will do. They'll float a bond, but bonds are really a debt instrument. So when you invest in a bond, you're investing to then be paid a flat rate or a fixed rate of interest rate on the return. And bonds typically are the inverse of stocks. So for example, if stock prices go up, then typically the bond prices go down. The relationship is kind of inverse. And you can also invest within bonds and mutual funds. So you can not only invest in stock funds within mutual funds, you can also invest in straight out bond funds like Ginnie Mae funds, intermediate corporate funds. There's all different types of bond funds within mutual funds that you can invest in too. Another type of investment is an annuity, which is basically an insurance contract where you invest. And when you invest in an annuity, you're typically looking to then have a fixed payout at a certain point in time. So it's common to invest in an annuity for retirement purposes. You invest in the annuity, and at some point down the road, you want to take regular payments from it, and that's how an annuity is structured. You have to be careful with them, but they can be good too. And insurance products are also another investment option. And I know people have very varying opinions about insurance, but the thing about insurance companies is they are very much protected under the tax code. And so they can be a good investment, really can. So don't automatically discount insurance policies. And there's a lot of planning that can go around that. So it's important to talk to a financial planner when you're considering all of these different options. Something else to consider when you're investing too is your risk tolerance. Do you have a high tolerance for taking on a lot of risk, or are you pretty conservative? If you had your druthers, would you put your money under your mattress? Or are you open to having a lot of volatility in your investments? In other words, do you want to make out when the market's really on the upswing, but you have to understand you're also going to have potentially low and dips in it. So it's just more volatile. It may go up a lot, but it may go down a lot. And so you just have to understand where you are, what your financial needs are currently and in the future, so that you can kind of plan for that. And there's all kinds of assessments that you can take to kind of determine your risk tolerance. Most financial companies, I was helping my son a couple weeks ago just invest in a certain Vanguard fund, and they had a risk tolerance questionnaire that you could complete to just kind of determine what funds were recommended for you. Most companies will really help you with that. So you can answer questions. They'll come up with recommendations on different funds within their portfolio, of course, but it gives you an idea of what you might want to invest in. And you also have to be, in addition to risk tolerance, you also have to really understand when you need the money, right? So you're not going to invest in something for the long haul if you have to pay college tuition next year. So really defining when you need the money, how long you can afford to, wait for it, and that will kind of drive your decisions too on what you invest in. The other consideration is also whether it's a pre-tax or after-tax account. So if you're young and you have a long time to go until retirement, then you definitely want to invest in pre-tax, because over the long haul, that's going to generate a lot more return for you because of the tax savings involved and the fact that the earnings aren't taxed currently. You're not taxed on the current investment earnings. They're deferred for tax reasons. But on the other hand, you also have to balance that with the fact that you don't want to put all of your money potentially into a retirement account when you don't, when you're 25 years old and you have to wait until you're 59 and a half to pull anything out without penalty. So you also have to, factor in maybe you want a house in the near future, or you have other financial needs where you don't want to necessarily tie up your money in a retirement account. So it's a fine balancing act. There's lots of things to consider for you personally, like where you are in life. And so a lot of personal decisions and goals and dreams come into place when you're trying to financial plan. But that gives you some basics. Please feel free to ask me any questions. I'd be happy to answer anything I can for you. And until next Monday or sooner, I'll talk to you soon. This is Kim Adams for Monday's Money Talk. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.